welcome to Sonder. My name is Maggie. I am a knitter, spinner, crafter, bibliophile, mother, and doctor who is living here in Denver, Colorado. It's so wonderful to be here again. I am here to chat with you about my last week spent in the Hudson Valley of New York and my first ever Rhinebeck. Y'all, I had so much fun. I am sniffly, coming at you real. I've got like a little bit of headache. I'm sniffly. I can't smell anything because I got COVID. Ooh, boy. I now have 4 vaccines. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I just got my 3rd booster, so like 4th total vaccine. So I will say that having gotten COVID while working in the ICUs in early COVID days in November of 2020. So like having gotten COVID with 0 vaccines and now having gotten COVID with 4 vaccines, like can confirm I feel a lot better than I used to, but still don't feel great. But you know what? I thought that it would be really, really fun to come on here and talk to you about my week in New York. So the way this will kind of go is the first part of it, I am actually going to talk about a new winner for my project bag because I did not get a response from my last one, which totally makes sense because I disappeared for months. But I picked a new person, and then I'm going to talk about my Rhinebeck sweaters that I finished and didn't finish for Rhinebeck. And then I'll go into my acquisitions, which I know is not for everybody, but I'm really, really excited about the beautiful yarn that I got and want to show you all what I got and kind of highlight some of the makers that I supported. And then with that, I'm also going to talk about some patterns that I'm excited to knit in the coming months with the yarn that I got while I was in Rhinebeck. And yeah, that's all I really have on the docket for today, but this is always a wild ride, so like who knows what could happen. But I wanted to start off by picking a new winner for this lovely prize. This is a giveaway that I did many moons ago, but as I said, I disappeared, so here we are again. This is for this beautiful project bag that I made out of some scrap fabric that I have. And inside here, I put in a skein of my hometown yarn, the Yampa Valley Fiberworks yarn, which is out of their beautiful, beautiful wool that they have on that farm up in Craig, Colorado. And then one of these skeins of Sweet Sparrow yarns with some really fun stitch markers and progress keepers. Some of those are from Sweet Sparrow, and then I also included one of my coveted favorite ones from Time Weaver. So there's that, and the new winner is, I already picked it, is Jessica Lucci, and they were so kind and shared some really wonderful things with me, but I will just read the part about the genres they like to read because then I got very excited to pick out the book that I would send to them. So if you are Jessica Lucci, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, but if you are Jessica Lucci, please reach out to me on Instagram and I will get your prize as well as your book in the mail to you. And thank you so much for your very, very kind words. But Jessica said, I love most genres of books, but I'd say I'm more drawn to ancient historical fantasy fiction like The Lost Queen. Queer romance, especially sapphic romance, just finished Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and all I can say is it was fire, which I'm going to add that to my list because I love a good queer romance, and I feel like I've had trouble finding like really, really good sapphic romances, so thank you for that recommendation. My absolute favorite genre right now, though, is queer fantasy, like anything by C.L. Polk. So this got me very excited because as soon as they wrote that, I was like, I love queer fantasy. And I honestly went through my my bookshelves and I have given so much of my queer fantasy away because I love it and I just want to like spread it around to everybody. But I did pick out a few amazing options and I'm gonna go grab one more that I just realized. Okay, sorry. Like I said, this is like my favorite thing. And so I was like, I have so many options to talk about. But so Jessica, I am going to just share all of these books and then you can send me a message on Instagram and let me know which one you are most excited to read. And I will send that one in the mail to you. But the first one I'll start off with is not a fantasy, but this is an amazing queer romance that I loved. And it is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. If y'all have not read this, I cannot recommend it enough. I'll just read the back of all of these because I feel like I am not going to do it justice, and I also like don't want to accidentally give things away, so I'm just going to read the back. When Viola Carroll was presumed dead at Waterloo, she took the opportunity to live at last as herself. But freedom does not come without a price, and Viola paid for hers with the loss of her wealth, her title, and her closest companion, Justin de Vere, the Duke of Gracewood. Only when their families reconnect years after the war does Viola learn how deep that loss truly was. Shattered without her, Gracewood has retreated so far into grief that Viola barely recognizes her old friend in the lonely, brooding man he has become. As Viola strives to bring Gracewood back to himself, fresh desires give new names to old feelings. Feelings that would have been impossible once and maybe impossible still, but which Viola cannot deny, even if they cost her everything all over again. This is an amazing romance novel, like literally one of the best I've ever read. And it follows two people who were the best of friends. They were both soldiers in the war. And as it said in Waterloo, when Viola is presumed dead, she is able to live as her true self, and she is a trans woman, and it is just the most beautiful, like friends to lovers, second chance, but also like missed opportunity. It's like beautiful and funny, and it's just full of like queer joy, but does have some deeper, deeper themes that it talks about, just in that it is like a historical romance. But oh my God, is it not just divine? So this is the first one, which again, not a fantasy, just a romance. And then the rest of these are kind of like meet the fantasy / science fiction realm. So two of them are science fiction. And one of them is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is like a warm hug from a friend while like drinking a cup of tea. It's just so good. But I'll just read this. It's been centuries since the robots of Panga gained self-awareness and laid down their tools. Centuries since they wandered en masse into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Centuries since they faded into myth and urban legend. One day, the life of a tea monk is upended by the arrival of a robot. There to honor the old promise of checking in, the robot has one question: what do people need? But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. They're going to need to ask it a lot. Oh my gosh, this is so good. And I would say this is for someone who really loves kind of philosophical stories that don't necessarily have like a plot, like A goes to B goes to C. It's more about just like, what is humanity, and like these small moments between not even people, but like these small moments between beings, it's so beautiful. So that is the second one. The third one is a book that I just finished and was divine. Like I I honestly, if you choose this one, might need to buy a copy and send it to you because I'm like not sure I can part with it. But this was The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez, and this was incredible. I would say that this is a science fiction book that is for people who really love literary fiction and want to explore other genres. It's very like science fiction light and is more of a character-driven story about this woman who is working on a spaceship transporting goods, and because of that she has to bend time because they're transporting goods over such a large distance that with that bending of time, for her, it's only been months, but for everybody she knows and loves, every time she sees them, it's been like 15 years. And so it's about her kind of living through this really sad existence. And then all of a sudden, this boy comes from nowhere and just like changes her life. And it is so beautiful and also like gay and amazing. I love it. So this is When Your Life Begins. Nia Imani is a woman out of place and outside of time. Decades of travel through the stars are condensed into mere months for her, though the years continue to march steadily onward for everyone she has ever known. Her friends and lovers have aged past her. All she has left is work. Alone and adrift, she lives only for the next paycheck until the day she meets a mysterious boy, fallen from the sky. A boy broken by his past. The scarred child does not speak. His only form of communication, the beautiful and haunting music he plays on an old wooden flute. Captured by his songs and their strange immediate connection, Nia decides to take the boy in. And over years of starlit travel, these two outsiders discover in each other the things they lack. For him, a home, a place of love and safety. For her, an anchor to the world outside herself. For both of them, a family. But Nia is not the only one who wants the boy. The past hungers for him, and when it catches up, it threatens to tear this makeshift family apart. It's so good. It's so good. And each chapter, the chapters are really long, and each chapter is written from like a different perspective, and it's so flawless. It's so beautiful. I'm like obsessed with it. But anyway, The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. And then the last one is probably one of my favorite books, literally of all time. If you haven't read this, I would choose this one because it is just so good. And I haven't gotten to talk about this book in a while, and so I'm really happy that I get to talk about it again. But this is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And the best way I can describe this is like, it's like the X-Men Academy meets like if Wes Anderson wrote a book about that meets like beautiful gay romance and like found family, and it's just like a wild ride, but like literally one of the best, not only like one of the best fantasy novels I've ever read, but one of the best novels period I've ever read. It is so fun, it's so interesting, it's beautifully written, it's beautifully crafted. The found family aspect of it is so beautiful, and it's like it's so good. So if you haven't read this, like, this is the one I would probably recommend over everything because it's like incredible. But anyway, Linus Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company. But his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment. Travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at the strangest of islands, he's greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the most mysterious of which is Arthur Parnassus, the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur grow closer, Linus discovers the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn. Or worse, his secret light comes out. The House in the Cerulean Sea is an enchanting love story, masterfully told about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place and realizing that family is yours. This book has brought me so much joy over the years. It's beautiful. It will make you laugh, it will make you cry tears of joy. Like, it is so rare that that happens for me, especially with reading. And like, this did it. It's so good. So anyway, Jessica, thank you so much for your very kind words. And with that, I will get into the Rhinebeck talk. So I did want to talk about the sweaters that I wore to Rhinebeck. This is the first sweater that I wore, the one that I am wearing now, and this is the Traveler Hoodie by Andrea Mowry. And I knit this out of my Homespun. Can you believe it? It's so beautiful. I'm like obsessed. Let me just stand up and show it off a little bit. It is like wackadoodle and amazing. So this was Homespun that I did. It's a 3-ply worsted spun preparation from, oh gosh, I am having like a complete brain fart. It is Enchilada Night by, it's gonna come to me. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I knew it. Sorry. I feel like this is like some like COVID brain fog. But anyway, this was the colorway Enchilada Night by Hello Yarn. And y'all, this was delightful to spin. It is Cordale wool. It is like my perfect go-to, like, beautiful rainbow of colors. I just like can't get over it. It's so good. And look at this hood. I mean, it's delightful. I really loved knitting this sweater. I think it is perfect for hand spun. I will say, so this is my first sweater knit out of Homespun. I didn't know exactly how much I would need, and it turns out I did not have enough, which I have already talked about. But this sleeve, I spun the yarn after I had already done like the whole sweater spin. And this yarn definitely has a different grist. It is like definitely thicker. I would say this sleeve is more of a worsted weight, which honestly, I don't think you can really tell, but you could tell when I started knitting it and the sleeve was like 2 inches bigger than the other sleeve. And so I had to do some fancy footwork. I had to decrease the stitch count that I picked up and just like do my own thing. But honestly, I think I did pretty good making them match, and I think you would have no idea. When you're wearing it, I feel like my right arm is slightly warmer than my left arm, but here we are. Like when you touch the fabric, you can feel that they are different, but that's neither here nor there. It was so fun. And I agree with Andrea Mowry that like this is the only thing I want to wear. I feel like maybe it's because I'm sick, but I have just been putting it on and wearing it constantly. It's like what I wore through the airport on both legs of the trip. It is probably my favorite thing I've ever made, and maybe that's because it's out of Homespun, but I also think that this sweater is just great. So this is the sweater that I wore to the epic fiber festival that was Wallin Folk, which I am not going to get into like the drama with Wallin Folk, and drama I feel like is not giving it enough. Like it was horrible. It was just like so bad. I am giggling because I'm deflecting because it was so awful. And I think for me, as someone who has generalized anxiety disorder, being in a location with that many people was very overwhelming, felt really unsafe, was generally not a good time. And like, I can't even imagine for people who are not able-bodied getting around there. It was horrible. I will never go again, but I did find some beautiful things there. But yeah, it was awful. I also think that like, apart from just like the unsafe conditions and generally how crowded it was and all of those things, the other thing is that like, it truly just like was not what it was said it was going to be. I had brought my husband and my daughter, and we were really excited to like listen to folk music and have my daughter like dancing, listening to folk music with my husband while I like went around and shopped, and like there was no music at all. So, and like apparently it was supposed to come on later, but like I honestly couldn't stay long enough to even see any music. So the whole thing was awful. I would highly recommend not going to that one. There are many other sort of events tied to Rhinebeck that I might check out next year, or I might just go to the Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival, because honestly I'm a big fan of rustic wool, and I think that's more up my alley in general. But yeah, it was wild. I will say that we did find this beautiful cidery right around the corner from there, which you'll get to see some of the footage that I took from that cidery. It was really, really beautiful and just like a breath of fresh air. So yeah, Wool and Folk was a time. I really love how everyone's calling it the Fiber Festival, because it reminds me of like they're referencing the Fire Festival, which was, there are some great documentaries on Netflix and things like that if you want to look up what the Fire Festival was, but it felt very similar. Anyway, this is what I wore there. I was there handing out some stickers, which I have a ton of these left over, again, because I was very overwhelmed and I didn't really give them out to anybody because it was too much for me. But this was my first make, and then my thing that I actually wore to Rhinebeck, the Sheep and Wool Festival. Let me just do a little change-a-roo here. Was my Yell cardigan. Y'all, I just like couldn't go to Rhinebeck and not wear my Yell cardigan. This is a all over steeked colorwork cardigan that I made out of Jamiesons of Shetland spindrift. That's what most of it is, except for the top part is Jamiesons of Shetland. It's just like Jamiesons of Shetland, like the JMS. And I loved wearing this. This is the thing that I wore to the actual Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival. I got like interviewed by people because of it. It is such a fun sweater, and one that I am really, really proud of making. And one of the things that I was able to do is that this made me actually finally sew down the ribbon to cover the steek, which just makes it feel very professional and finished. And yeah, I absolutely love this sweater and highly recommend it, though I did have to make many, many modifications. So this is what I wore to the actual Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival. And then the last thing that I wanted to show is the tessellated sweater that I had knit, which was Andrea Mowry's Rhinebeck sweater for this year. And mine is now finished, though I will put in a picture here to show that it was certainly, maybe I'll do it over here. Anyway, it was not finished for Rhinebeck, and honestly, I was so overwhelmed by the day before that I was like, I'm not even gonna wear it. Like, I'm not gonna bring it. I'm just like, not gonna deal with it. Which was fine. I actually did end up getting to meet Andrea Mowry, which was really fun, but I was too like anxious to like ask her to take a picture or anything, but I did get to meet her and tell her that I had worn my handspun tessellated, my handspun Traveler, and she let me know that there are some fun things coming for hand spinning and the Traveler, so be on the lookout for that. But I have since finished it since I got COVID. I knit mine out of 3 different yarns, obviously. The sort of emerald green color is, oh shoot, I don't remember. Suddenly I'm like, what? But this emerald green is the Quince & Co. Chickadee in the Cypress colorway, I believe. And then my fluffy kind of light blue yarn is the Odang Sari from Farmer's Daughters Fibers. And it was the Indigenous Collective colorway from sometime last summer, I believe. And then my color shifting yarn is Spincycle dyed in the wool in the deep bump color. And I really, really love this sweater. I did make a couple of modifications in that I think I added about an inch to the length of the sweater and then like 2 inches to the sleeve. So this is completely unblocked, but I imagine with blocking it will grow and look a lot better than it does right now. But I still really love how it looks, even just like raw. So yeah, I am really glad this sweater is over. Let's just say that much. This sweater I think is beautiful. So like when I see it, I'm like, wow, like that is so fun, like different, nothing like I have before. But boy, was it like a pain in the ass to knit. Like I want to put this back on. The 3 balls of yarn, y'all, it nearly killed me. And especially with like 3 balls of yarn, with one of them being like a mohair or like alpaca sticky hairy yarn. It was just like honestly not that enjoyable to knit, but it's done and I love the finished object. It was just very much a progress. No, I don't know. I really liked the finished object, but I did not enjoy the act of knitting it. So anyway, those are my Rhinebeck makes. I am now going to move on to talking about what I got at Wallin Folk and at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. If this is like not your cup of tea and you are not down to see some yarns, then I get that. And it was lovely to see you, and I will see you later. Or you can fast forward to the end and I will talk a little bit about my vacation that we had in New York. We did a lot of other fun things, so I wanted to show some footage about that as well. Okay, the first thing I will show is the tea that I am drinking. Which the tea is nothing special. It's just like a throat coat, like I'm sick and I need to drink fluids tea. But I am drinking it out of this beautiful mug, which is from Golden Earth Pottery. And they had the most beautiful booth in the most muddy area, you know? But I just saw these from afar and I was like, I'm such a sucker for pottery. I feel like I'm always buying pottery because I just love it. It's like utilitarian and gorgeous. And this is no exception. It is a wonderful mug with an adorable sheep on it. And I'm just like, yes, take my money. But this maker also had some really, really beautiful ceramic buttons or like pottery buttons that like were to die for. And I almost bought them, but I just like was so overwhelmed that I couldn't like figure out which ones I wanted. It was like they were all beautiful, but highly recommend checking out their shop on Etsy. Golden Earth Pottery, amazing. The next thing that I will talk about is this awesome hat that I got from Deegan, which says knit. And it is a really, really lovely made in the US hat that, I just like couldn't not buy this knit hat. And then I ended up wearing it for a lot because it's like surprisingly warm. Like I would say this is not like a hat. It's like felt or wool or something. But it's quite warm. So it's like not something that I'll probably wear much in the summer, but I feel like me like skinning, which skinning, for those who don't know, it probably sounds a little weird, but skinning is what we call when we're like backcountry skiing and we're going up the mountain with they call them skins, which they used to actually be animal skins where the hair had been cut off and so they're sticky. But now we don't use that because that's barbaric. They're just, anyway, they're like sticky things we put on the bottom of our skis. I'll put a picture so that it like makes more sense. They're sticky things that we put on the bottom of our skis, and then that allows you to glide up but kind of like stop. And I'm always looking for a good hat to skin in because it is a lot of hard work, but it's also like really cold. So anyway, I think I'm gonna rock this a lot on the mountain. Then I did manage to make it to Explore Knits and Fibers, which it's hilarious because they are in Colorado, and I've never been able to actually make it to any of their like open houses or anything like that, and I've never been able to buy any of their yarn because they always sell out too quick, and I'm not very good at like logging on and like buying stuff. So I did want to check out their booth, and they had posted a lot of things about how horrible their experience was there, them and many other vendors at this event. But I was excited to see them, and by the time I got there, I was overwhelmed and just grabbed a couple of things that like drew me in and were really beautiful. And the first is this Explore Knits and Fibers Denali sock in the Churros con Chocolate color, which is just this really, really beautiful, sorry, it's like a super gloomy day here in Denver, so I don't have the best light, but it is this really beautiful kind of mauvey chocolatey brown. It's gorgeous. I'm like obsessed. And I will probably knit this into a pair of socks, knowing me. I don't have any brown socks and I really need them. So I think that is what this is destined to be. I can usually get 2 pairs of socks out of a skein of yarn, and so I might knit 2, or I might give away half of this skein. And then the second thing I got is this boucle yarn, which I have never gotten to knit with boucle before. And I just have this vision to make the, what is it called? To make the PetiteKnit, sorry, like this is like COVID brain fog, it's like very real. The like general go-to very common knit hat that PetiteKnit has, where it has the folded brim, but it's all stockinette stitch. I'm gonna make that out of this because I think that it would be really great, really warm, really comfortable. And this is the Boucle DK, and it is Formaggio. It's really beautiful. I'm obsessed. So those are the 2 things, along with this bag that I got from Explore Knits, which was super fun to actually get to see and squish their yarn. And then I did manage also to get some self-striping yarn from Woolens and Nosh, which I love Woolens and Nosh, and I did make it to their booth somehow. It was treacherous because it was like inside, and I feel like I almost got trampled, but it's fine. It's not fine. It happened. I am okay. The first one is the Superwash Targhee Fingering, and it is in the colorway Percolated. And I am going to be knitting Sean a pair of socks out of this, which he has been waiting graciously, and all of his socks have holes, and that and hats are the 2 things that Sean likes the most that I knit him. And then I got myself some DK. So this is High Twist DK in the Fancy Schmancy Pumpkins remix. And I'm gonna knit myself some really nice house socks out of this. Okay. The last purchase that I made at Woolin Folk was one of the biggest ones, and that was a sweater quantity of Lamb and Kid. And I will say, sorry, I'm just pulling it up because I don't remember the name of the pattern that I wanted to knit this with. But I would say, like, I have heard everybody talking about Lamb and Kid, and I've always been like, yeah, like it looks nice, but holy shit, when you see it in person, the colors are so beautiful. I was blown away. So I got a sweater's quantity to hold together of this color, which is, this one is Elmer Fingering, which is 80% merino, 20% cashmere, and it's like woolen spun. It's pretty rustic. I don't think it's super wash. And this is in the colorway Heirloom, like the tomato, and that is showing up like exactly what it is. And then I also got with it, this is Birdie, which is light fingering, which is 75% alpaca, 26% silk. And this is also in the colorway Heirloom. So I got an entire sweater's quantity of these to hold together. And my plan is to make PetiteKnits Agnete cardigan, which is her, I was like totally, I mean, her color, it's like a bright red cardigan. So I feel like I was very influenced by her. But the Agnete cardigan is this really, really gorgeous cardigan that is all over brioche, except for the button band is double knit, I think. And that definitely is a mohair and a light fingering held together. And so I do think I'm gonna have to do some fancy footwork with the gauge, but I'll figure that out, it's like fine. And I love that cardigan. I also realized that when you're knitting one color brioche flat, that you're just doing the Berks the whole time. So you're just doing the knit stitch. You don't have to like purl anything, which blew my mind and made me really excited to knit that sweater. So anyway, I am really excited, and it was very indulgent. I bought like so much of this. Yeah, it was a lot, but it's so beautiful. I could not. And it's also my birthday. My birthday was on Monday. My birthday is in October, and so I also feel like I was like a little unhinged because I was just so excited. Okay, so that is everything that I got at Woolen Folk, which again was a time. I'm growing up my bangs, and I feel like I need to like put this on just to like not look like such a lunatic. But yeah, so that was everything that I got at Woolen Folk. And then I went to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, and there I really wanted to focus on getting some beautiful breed-specific farm yarn that I could do some sort of all-over textured, probably cardigan. I really like my pullovers that I have, but I also feel the need to have more cardigans for a couple of reasons. One is that I really like the look of like a hand knit cardigan over a t-shirt. And then the other thing is that we are probably going to try to have another kid eventually. And so the need to have like easy access to the like feeding machine that is your breasts when you are breastfeeding is important. And so a cardigan makes that much easier. So that is what I was looking for, which is why I want to make a cardigan out of this beautiful yarn. And then another cardigan. So I went to, oh my gosh, New York Sheep and Wool Festival was so fun. It is crowded, but so much less crowded than Woolen Folk. It is a huge fairgrounds. There are sheep everywhere. There are bunnies, there are goats. It's amazing. And I was really blown away by this company, which is Solitude Wool. And I bought a large sweater quantity. I got like 8 skeins of this, but it is the Targhee 2, which is a 2-ply woolen spun that is a good all-purpose knitting yarn. Targhee is a fine wool, soft and elastic. The breed was developed in Idaho in 1926, one of the newest in America, and is unusual in the eastern United States. It's hard to see this, but it is like the most bouncy, it's just so good. So I got a sweater quantity of this. It's all undyed. And oh my gosh, I see some veg. Oh my God, look at that veg. Ugh. Anyway, this is everything that is in this bag is this yarn, and I'm obsessed with it. It is so, I wish you could feel this. Like, I wish you could like feel the like Bouncy. It's so good. And I have a few different things that I am excited to make this into, which I actually pulled them up on Ravelry. So I think that the thing that I am most likely going to make is the Jenny Jacket V-neck by PetiteKnit. Sean, what?
I'm just giving a snap.
Sean is getting a snack. Don't mind him. So the thing that I am most excited to make out of this beautiful, beautiful farm yarn is the Jenny Jacket V-neck by PetiteKnit. I know this is a very PetiteKnit heavy podcast. It's like PetiteKnit and Andrea Mowry. I'm apparently not that original, but here we are. I really, really love this jacket because it has all over texture, but a very classic look that I think would be amazing in this yarn. Other things that I have been thinking about are not cardigans, which I think is why I'm leaning so much towards this one, but is the PetiteKnit's Moby sweater. I think it would just look so beautiful in this yarn. Even though this is a 2-ply, I still think like it's so, because it's Wallin spun, it's so poofy that I think it would look really beautiful in cables. I also have been looking at the Billie pullover by Sari Nordland, again, which is very similar to that very classic looking kind of like Aran weight cabled sweater. And then the third one that I've been looking at is the Ingrid sweater by PetiteKnit. The other cardigan that I really love, and this may become, is the Minou Cardigan by Luisa rehkopf. The only thing with that one is that I don't like the shaping quite as much as the PetiteKnit. I'm just like really liking a drop shoulder these days, and so I really, really love that, which now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, is it a drop shoulder? I don't know, but I am really excited to make an all over textured something out of this, but I do think it's most likely to be that that Jenny Jacket V-neck by PetiteKnit. So I, at that point, had spent a lot of money on yarn and I wanted to check out some of the other kind of booths that I had been hearing about for a long time, just having been in the kind of like knitting community. And so I wanted to go to Brown Bunny Pottery. And I was lucky enough to snag this amazing pot. This is something that is going to henceforth live on my kitchen countertop, and it is a little sheep. Look at that little sheep face. It has a little sheep butt. It's so cool. I'm obsessed with this. It was hilarious when I bought it. My husband was like, how are we gonna get that home? And guess what, y'all? I like carried this shit on the plane, you know? I was like, I'm not having it be broken. But yeah, so I got this amazing pot. And then the last place I went was to the button place, the button booth. I don't even know what it's called, but there's like a button booth that I wanted to check out. And I got a few different buttons from there. I got this one, which I think these are just like run-of-the-mill kind of plastic buttons, but I really, really loved this color. And then I splurged and I got 2 different button sets that are like ancient. Like these ones are from like 1840 and these ones are from like 1820 or something like that. It was like crazy. And I'm just obsessed with them. So I'll show you these ones. These were the first ones. And they're like Victorian buttons. And I am planning on having these buttons go on this cardigan. I just think it would look so pretty. So that was the first kind of button purchase I made. And then the second one is this kind of mismatched, but they're so cool. like they go together, but they're not the same. And my plan is to use these as the buttons for this cardigan. So anyway, that was my whole Rhinebeck haul. It was a lot. It was really great. I'm really excited to go again next year, but I will say, like, I will not be going back to Wallin Folk. That was insane. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is our vacation in general, just because I do like to use these podcasts as a way to reflect on my life and what we've been doing. And I wanted to be able to put in a bunch of footage about what our vacation was and how it went and things like that. So we spent a little over a week in New York, and we flew into New York on Sunday morning. It was a really easy flight. It was Edie Mae's first time on an airplane, which was crazy. She did really, really well on the way there in particular. On the way back, it was a little bit rough because it was like 11 hours of travel. So that was just hard with a toddler, but on the way there, it was really, really smooth and really easy. We flew into LaGuardia, and then we went to my brother and sister-in-law's house. They live in Park Slope in Brooklyn, and we got to spend a couple of days in Brooklyn, which was great. We really just like ate a lot and like walked around, which was awesome. I also got to go on a couple of like 5-mile runs around Prospect Park, which Prospect Park is so delightful. We got to go on runs, so it's like every morning I would wake up, I would go on a run around Prospect Park, I would come back. On Monday, we took Edie to go to a little like art class, which was so cute. She got to do a little drop-in art class. For those of you who live near Brooklyn or who are planning to go there with kids, I highly recommend checking out the Art Annex in Park Slope. It is so much fun. This was like a little art studio that sets up a bunch of different little places where young little artists who are toddlers can walk around and just like explore clay and like light boxes and painting and sand. It was so much fun. I had a blast. So we went and did a drop-in class at the little art annex, and then what else did we do in New York? We ate a lot of really, really amazing food. I really love Szechuan food, and there is a really stellar Szechuan place in Brooklyn that we went to. And we walked around, we went and got matching tattoos. So my friends and I all chose one of the line drawings that Pablo Picasso drew, the sort of like contiguous line drawings. The four of us who were there in Brooklyn together all chose different contiguous line drawings and got some tattoos together, which was super, super fun. I love a friend tattoo, and so we all got different animals and different places on our bodies, but it's such a fun little memory. Mine is an elephant that is on my ankle. I'll take a picture and put it in here, but mine is an elephant on my ankle, and I've named her Gertrude or Gertie. So that was really fun. And then on Tuesday morning, we all met up at Penn Station and took the train to upstate New York. We took the train to Poughkeepsie and then got off there and ate at this like fucking incredible sandwich shop. It was like an Italian bakery sandwich shop. It was delightful. Took a train to Poughkeepsie, got the best sandwiches of my life, and then drove up to where we stayed, which I don't even remember, but we found a really, really beautiful Airbnb that was probably like 30 minutes away from Rhinebeck. And our Airbnb that my one of my best friends, Sutton, found was incredible. There were 3 couples staying at the Airbnb all together. Me, one of my best friends, Sutton, and one of my best friends, Catherine. We are all residents together in the MedPeds residency here. and we just had the best time. The first day that we were all together, so on Thursday we were kind of like getting to the Airbnb. We did like all of our shopping. Each couple like did a different cooked on different days, and so we ate all of our meals at the Airbnb, and everybody is like an incredible cook, and so we ate like kings. It was amazing. And also just like with Edie and a big group, we were like, I don't even want to like try to go to a restaurant. And so we went shopping and came back and just like hung out. The Airbnb that we got had like a big piece of land, this like beautiful trees. It was like amazing. Then on Wednesday, we went on a really beautiful hike. It was only like a 4 or 5 mile hike, but went on a really beautiful hike to look at some waterfalls. And then after that adventure, we went to an apple orchard, and picked apples, which we then ended up making into a variety of different things. We were just like adding apples to everything. And then on Thursday, we went climbing. So in the Hudson Valley, there is a really, really famous rock climbing area called the Gunks, or I think it's like the Shawgunk Mountains, but climbers call it the Gunks for short. And I always joke about how like in a past life I was a climber, but in college, like that was like all I did, like all day, every day, you know, I was just like climbing because I went to college in Boulder where there's tons and tons of climbing outside. And so it was really, really fun to put our harnesses on again. And I didn't lead anything because it's all trad climbing there, but my husband and one of our Sutton's partner, Pat, led everything and put up a bunch of top ropes so we could just be top rope tough guys, and we spent the whole day climbing in the Gunks. The climbing there is really, really fun. It is all like trad climbing, so it's a lot of crack climbing, but there's like big roofs and like big jugs. It was like so fun, and just like fun to relive climbing. And like it's been a really long time since I've been climbing, and I feel like these days all I do is climb outside whenever I do, but it was a really beautiful way to spend a day just climbing with friends. It was great. Edie ended up taking a nap in this like cave, and all the climbers who were walking by were just like, that is amazing, like she's gonna be covered in millipedes, which is hilarious. And then after we went climbing in the Gunks, we went to a winery that was very close to the Gunks, and that was like delicious. I don't know, I don't think of upstate New York, or I guess like the Hudson Valley of New York, and being like great vineyards, but like this was really good wine. It was like surprisingly good wine. So we bought a couple of bottles of wine and sat outside and just like shot the shit with friends. Every night we were playing board games. We played a bunch of different board games. We played like Coup, and my husband bought a new game for us called Archduke, which we were playing. It was great. It was just so fun to like every night come home, like have time with friends. It was really fantastic. And then Thursday night was kind of like the last good night we were gonna have, and so we ended up having a fire outside in the backyard. There was like a ton of land. It was on like a huge piece of land, and so we got to just like sit outside, look at the stars, have a fire, and just spend time with friends, which was really great. And then Friday we went to Wallin Folk, which was a time. And Saturday we went to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck, New York, and that was amazing. I got a little bit of footage from Rhinebeck, but honestly I was just like taking it in and having a good time, and I think I got like 2 seconds of footage from Wallin Folk, which I won't even put in here because I don't want to like give anybody a panic attack. And then there's been so much rain in upstate New York that there was a giant landslide, and all of the trains into New York City from the Hudson Valley were canceled, which was crazy. And so we ended up taking a very expensive Uber from Poughkeepsie all the way to LaGuardia and flying out on Sunday, which was a time. I really loved the train ride up there, but honestly, the like flight to train to car combo is just like a lot of transitions, and I think in the future I'll probably just fly into LaGuardia and rent a car from there, because I think it just would have like made things a lot easier. But anyway, it was like one of the best vacations ever. I had such an amazing time sitting, knitting with friends, climbing, hiking. It was great. I highly recommend that, like, if you get a chance to go to Rhinebeck, spending a little bit of time in the Hudson Valley before the events, before the like Yarny events, is really incredible. I think the whole crew agreed that I think we're gonna do a very similar thing next year, except we'll probably skip any of the other events other than the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. I think for the type of yarn I really like, honestly, like the New York Sheep and Wool Festival is like all that I need or could ever want. So I think we'll kind of focus more of our time there, and then more time climbing in the gungs, because it was so much fun and there's so much to explore there. And just like hiking and stuff. It's a beautiful part of the country. So that is all I have. I really loved getting on here to connect with you all, and I hope to see you again soon. All right. Bye.